guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to do the anxiety video that I spoke about on Instagram. So if you don't follow my Instagram, my handle is down below, and whilst you're down there, if you could also subscribe to my YouTube channel, it would be much appreciated. So I asked for your questions or topics on Instagram as to what you'd like me to cover. So just a bit of backstory. Obviously, I guess it's a bit of a given that I do have anxiety, and it's something that I felt like I wanted to talk about. It's something that actually spurred me on to do this YouTube channel, as I wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone and do something that I felt like would really help me in the long run with my anxiety. So I'm going to read through a few of those questions now. So first question, what specific situations tend to trigger your anxiety? So probably, I wouldn't say if there's anything specifically, although my anxiety is based around people. So my anxiety is where I feel like people are annoyed at me, or I've done something wrong and I've upset them, or that they don't like me. Obviously I know that everybody in the world, like not everybody is going to like everybody in the world, I completely understand that. But it's somebody, if I care about somebody and I feel like that they don't like me, or that I'm bugging them, or that I've upset them, that tends to be what triggers my anxiety, because I then start overthinking it and I get really quite worried about it. Also, other things is going into big groups with people I don't know. That also triggers my anxiety, because I am then worrying again, what if they don't like me, what if they get the wrong impression of me, so I worry about that as well. So I'd say that's probably what specific situations trigger me. What helps you deal with your anxiety when it sets in? Just taking myself off, pretty much on my own, or with somebody that I trust, or that for example, my close friends, my mum, my boyfriend obviously. So anywhere, I like to go somewhere that's kind of away from the situation, if there is a certain situation, or I just like to be in a quiet place where I can just sit down, just take deep breaths, and just remember to, I think when you focus on your breathing, as stupid as it may sound when people try and tell you that, when you're focusing on your breathing, it actually does help, because you're focusing on something else rather than the anxiety. What are your anxiety symptoms? I wouldn't say I particularly have anxiety symptoms. I can feel like when I'm getting anxious, because my chest feels quite tight and I feel like I can't breathe properly, but that's more when I'm about to go into a panic attack. I do get, when I'm feeling anxious, my foot taps. I'm not quite sure why, but if I'm feeling anxious, my foot will tap. I guess that's just a way of me getting it out, I guess. I don't really know, but my foot just taps when I'm starting to feel anxious. Other than that, I wouldn't really say I have any anxiety symptoms. Do you have any tips for calming yourself down when you're feeling anxious? So my tips, like I said, was probably take yourself off, away from the situation, into a quiet zone with someone that you trust, someone that you feel comfortable around, and someone that puts you at ease. I also, something I learnt from an old friend is that she used to say to me, walk me around the room and tell me how many different objects you can see, or how many different colours you can see. And with that, you're taking your mind and you're focusing on something else, just like when you're focusing on your breathing, you're focusing on something else. So you're not thinking about the fact that you're feeling anxious or feel like you're panicking about something. So I find that really helpful, and I still do that. So for example, if I was sat and I was feeling anxious now and I was having a panic attack, I would look around the room and I could see that there's a coaster, a cushion, a lamp, a speaker and a plant, you know, that kind of thing. I find that the best thing for me to do is take my mind off of it. So something that Jason will do if I'm feeling anxious is he'll try and either make me laugh or take my mind off it that way, you know, talk about something else, which is really helpful. How long have you suffered with anxiety? I haven't suffered with anxiety all my life. And if you ask my mum, she would say, you know, I was never an anxious child or anything. I've probably say that I've suffered with anxiety for about 4 years now. It's in about 2016 that I started suffering with anxiety, late 2016. I think it maybe, looking back at it, it was probably something that was always a bit underlying but never really come to light. I went through a bit of a traumatic time, as in I had quite a bad situation in my personal life, 2 bad situations that really were quite upsetting, and they were one day after each other, so that kind of set me off, and it kind of just went from there. I mean, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. I know lots of people describe things like that, but it has been a bit of a roller coaster. I have my really good days and then I have my bad days. I find that if I have a bad day, I like to just be at home, because I find that's my comfort place and that's my safe place. So I like to just take a day out, be at home, and kind of what's the word? Not revamp. Rejuvenate, is that the right word? I'm not quite sure. But yeah, so I haven't suffered with anxiety all my life, or I suppose in some cases not that long, but yeah. Do you find it hard to explain it to people who haven't experienced it before? I wouldn't really say I talk about it to have to explain it. I know that's probably I'm contradicting myself there, because I'm talking about it now on YouTube to people that I probably don't know. But I guess in a way, yes, it is difficult to explain it to someone who doesn't understand. So for example, when I first started when I was getting panic attacks, because to start with I was just anxious, I wasn't really getting panic attacks, and I was having to explain to work as to why I felt like I couldn't leave the house. I didn't want to go out anywhere, I just wanted to stay in my home and I didn't want to leave. So trying to explain that to someone, you know, and they say, oh, you should really try and come in, and it's like, but I mean, people that suffer with this as well, you can understand that the more you push yourself, the worse it feels that you're feeling like, because then it starts again that, oh, I'm letting somebody down because I'm not going to work, or I can't go out and meet my friend because I feel too anxious. So what was the question? Do you find it hard to explain to people? So yes, I guess so. If somebody's not experienced it before, then they won't understand why you're feeling like that, or why you don't want to go out, or why you don't want to do certain things. Has your anxiety ever affected your work life? If so, how? Yes, I guess so, because like I just said, there was a time actually that I was off work for a couple of days where I wasn't in a job that I was able to work from home. So I felt like I couldn't actually go into work. I couldn't leave the house. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to see anybody. I just wanted to be on my own. So I guess in that sense it did affect my work, but in the job I'm in now, it's quite flexible, so I can work from home if I need to. So if I am feeling anxious or something, I can work from home in a place that is my safe place, and I don't have to feel like I've really got to go to work, I've really got to get out of the house. Who do you find it easier to talk to if you have issues/problems on your mind, and why? I'd probably say the first 2 people I would go to is, one is Jason, my boyfriend. One, because obviously when you're in a relationship you do talk about things that are on your mind and problems that you're finding, and we live together, so he notices when I'm not feeling quite right or when I don't feel that great, and he's really good at, he's really good at being there for me and just letting me talk to him, cry to him sometimes. So I'm not quite sure what I would do if I didn't have Jason. But the other person I would also go to is my mum. I talk to my mum about absolutely everything, and if anybody knows me, they know that my mum is literally my best friend. So I talk to her about everything and anything. I talk to her every day, multiple times a day normally. And she really understands it because she's been there obviously from the start. When I first started feeling anxious, she really understands, you know, that I'm going to be all right, if you know, and she understands just to listen. And you know, sometimes you just need your mum, don't you, in these kind of situations. Have you ever seen / spoken to a therapist? No, I haven't. When I was going through one of my really tough times, I went to the doctors because I wasn't really sleeping with it, and they suggested to me going to a therapist, but they suggested to start with for me to go to a group therapy. That would be my idea of hell. I would not want to sit in a group talking about how I felt anxious, because of the anxiety that I get, I would be thinking that everybody would be judging me. I know that people probably aren't judging me because they're in similar situations, but that's how I would feel, and I would be worried about that. So I haven't spoken to a therapist. I do contemplate going to a therapist and talking about things, but I'm yet to do it. Maybe I will. I know that lots of people say it's brilliant. Yeah, I haven't as of yet, but I wouldn't rule it out for the future. What are the most annoying things that people ask you regularly? Why are you feeling anxious? Majority of the time, I don't know. I can probably work out why I'm feeling anxious, or for example, oh, I feel like I've upset so-and-so or something or other. So why are you feeling anxious is quite annoying, because sometimes I just really don't know. I'm just feeling anxious. I don't really have a reason to feel anxious. I'm just feeling anxious. Oh, things like, oh, you'll be alright, you'll be alright in a minute, don't worry about it. Why are you worrying about that for? Well, I don't know. My mind just goes into overdrive. So I guess people don't really ask me annoying questions regarding it, but that would probably be the annoying questions if I did have any. Also, just an FYI, if you can hear any background noise, there are other people in the house, so just try and ignore that if you can. So what other questions have we got? How would you advise someone else feeling anxious? I don't feel like I can advise someone else feeling anxious, because everyone else's anxiety is so different. Everyone is anxious for different reasons. They have different calming methods. But I would probably just say take yourself off and be either by yourself or be with someone that you trust and you find calming. There's no point being with someone that is stressing you out, because that would just make things worse. Just take yourself off, take deep breaths, and just kind of you know, breathe through it. And like I mentioned earlier about looking around the room, pointing at different colours, different objects, I find that really helps for me, so maybe I'd recommend someone doing that. I tend to do that if I'm feeling like I'm having a panic attack rather than just feeling anxious. I find they're two very different things. Feeling anxious is, or I'm feeling really quite anxious about that, but having a panic attack is really where I can't feel like I can't deal with it. Another thing that I also do is I will text my best friend sometimes and just say, can you just say random words to me? And she knows then that means that I'm feeling anxious. I feel like I'm about to have a panic attack, and she'll just say, I don't know, car, blue, food, chips, you know, things like that. And that really takes my mind off of things as well. And then the last one I'm going to answer, has your anxiety ever affected your personal life? If so, how? I wouldn't really say it has affected my personal life, because if I feel like I'm getting anxious about something, so say for example I mentioned earlier about meeting big groups of people that I may not necessarily know, I would just try and calm myself down prior to go into it. So I probably have the anxiety beforehand, and then so it hasn't really stopped me going to things or affected my personal life in that way. So I would say it's probably affected my work life more, but mine tends to be at night anyway that I get anxious. I start overthinking things. I'm sure a lot of people can probably relate. I start overthinking things at night, so I wouldn't really say it has affected my personal life, no. So that's all the questions I'm going to answer for today. Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please give me a big thumbs up. It did take a lot of, it made me quite anxious actually thinking about filming this video. If you can hear that my voice is quite crackly, that is what else happens when I get a bit anxious. So I really appreciate you guys watching this video, and thank you for all your support. Like I said, if you could give me a big thumbs up and also subscribe down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!